Well, the Vols didn't win tonight, but man, that music still gets me pumped up. I love that intro. I'm Evan. This is my brother Rustin, aka Amber Alert Tyrene King, which is fair. He kind of disappeared tonight. But we are the Vol Bros. We are two bros who are actually bros who love the Vols. And we are going live tonight on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So there's plenty of ways for you to interact with us. Normally, we have a link where you can join us on screen. We're not going to be able to do that tonight, but we'd still love to see your comments and stuff in the on all the different platforms. Zach, let us know. Man, I'm so freaking mad. I'm going to keep my comment PG, but how the heck do you lose to Florida? Answer me that. I understand, man. And that's one of my thoughts about tonight. So, Rustin, you go ahead and you let us know your initial reactions to this evening, and then I'll give my reactions to this evening. And then or do you want me to go first? I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Okay, because I think I think I have a little bit of a subtle reaction or a calming. Hopefully, I'll be a calming influence tonight. I'm not super concerned about what happened this evening. Yeah, the Vols had a long stretch there where they couldn't hit a shot. And I know at the end of the game that it seemed like they were rushing shots because they were. I mean, like they're down by 11, you have a minute and a half left, you got to take some shots. But even in that situation, when there was 2 minutes left, a minute and a half left, they were getting wide open looks. Like, for example, the one pass that Z had out to Josiah on the wing for the shot. It was a wide open look. Like you can't not take that shot. Like he's wide open. It just didn't go in. That was unfortunately the case for Josiah all night long. It was just one of those nights, man. He couldn't hit. There were pull up jumpers from like 10 to 15 feet away that he always hits. Wasn't hitting them tonight. It's just sometimes how it goes. And people say, oh, yeah, I totally agree, Zach. Zach said, I still think the Vols can make a deep run, but come on, man. Yeah, I totally agree. 100%. No doubt about that. No doubt about it. I think that tonight hurts them as far as like, I think they're going to have to do a whole bunch of good work from here on out to end up with a 1 seed in the tournament now for sure. But I think one of the most important things that was said the entire night during the broadcast, which Jimmy Dykes is a fun guy to listen to on the call. He does a good job. Him, Tom Hart, they're enjoyable to listen to as far as like people who most commonly call Tennessee games. Maybe Ron Slay will get to call a Tennessee game one day. Dane Bradshaw gets to, so Ron Slay might as well. That would be hilarious, actually, to try to hear Ron Slay
Auburn
game.
Have they announced who's doing the Auburn game Saturday? Because Ron Slay's been doing the 2:00 game on SEC Network.
Well, that would be hilarious if there's no way he could be anywhere near unbiased when he's calling Tennessee game. That would be actually quite humorous to listen to. But, Jimmy Dykes said near maybe the 10-minute mark in the first half, he said, a lot of people talk about this Tennessee defense, and rightfully so. It's the number one defense in the country, which even tonight, I mean, yeah, there was a stretch there when Florida couldn't miss in the first half, but I mean, Tennessee still held them to under 70 points for the night. But he then said, yeah, Tennessee's the number one defense in the country, but Florida's the number 8 defense in the country. And I think that, we got to keep that in mind as we're talking about, this game tonight. That's a good defensive team we just played. In spite of the fact that they're a good defensive team, we still had wide open looks several times in the game and just missed it. I mean, that happens sometimes. Sometimes it seems like there's a lid on the rim. You can't but you'll notice, shooting is streaky. And when they saw the ball going through the nets, all of a sudden the ball started going through the nets for everybody. When the ball stopped going through the nets, the ball stopped going through the nets for everybody. That happened to both teams. There was a long stretch there in the first half where Florida couldn't hit water if they jumped out of a boat. I mean, there was the whole second part of the first 10 minutes, Florida couldn't miss. The second 10 minutes, they couldn't make one. And so that's just the way shooting goes sometimes. And so I'm not panicking over tonight. Obviously, yeah, there's things that they should have done better. Of course there is. But let's see what happens on Saturday. Let's see how they respond to and bounce back to adversity and from adversity, and let's just see how things go. A couple of my other thoughts. Number one, that screaming lady on TV, man, what in the world was that? There was some lady sitting near, and there were a bunch of people talking about it on Twitter too during the game. Like, who is the lady screaming? There was some lady sitting near the microphones in the press table. She was so loud, like screaming at people and everything. That was cracking me up during the game. She probably got more publicity and airtime than most other people in the court did. Um, I thought a couple neat things that were cool. They zoomed in on Tennessee's coach's clipboard there a couple times. I thought that was really neat that they had our players' initials by who they were guarding, and every timeout they could have a reminder of this guy likes to go left or this guy likes to do this. That's smart. That's smart. Um, the other thing, I wonder, I should have looked, and I guess I could go back and watch the replay of it on DVR and see what they said about Castleton, but I saw Tennessee, surely on their scouting report tonight, it said that Castleton brings the ball down after he gets a rebound. He doesn't keep the ball high. He brings it down instead of, chinning it up here. He lowers the ball near his stomach or something, because more than I've ever seen Tennessee's players doing this, almost every time you get a rebound and you start to bring the ball down, immediately they reach in and try to tie him up, get a jump ball. That was obviously a point of emphasis that Tennessee's coaches had seen on game tape previously. And coming into tonight, they were like, as soon as he starts bringing the ball down, go for it, tie it up. You saw him do it multiple times, like 4 or 5 times in the first half, at least once or twice in the second half. And I mean, it was noticeable. Like as soon as they start bringing the ball down, boom, they're reaching in and trying to tie him up. So I thought that was interesting too. It was clearly part of the game plan. But number 8 team defensively in the country, and they showed it tonight. What were your thoughts, Rustin?
We got outscored 28-10 in the last 10 minutes. We were up 44-39 with 10 minutes left.
And had all the momentum.
And I think what's most concerning to me, well, there's 3 things that I'm really concerned about. Number one is the one.
Hang on just a second. I like Zach's comment. He said, I think you're too nice, brother. They played like crap. Love you, man, but call it like it is. I understand, man. I understand.
I'm
Love
about
you too,
to.
Zach.
There's really 3 things that stand out that just really, really concern me. Number one is what I've been harping on all year. Olivier Commois has to decide that he's going to show up every night and be consistent. And people will look at the stat line for tonight and go, well, he had 11 points and 9 rebounds, but his 11 points came during hot streaks. And it was when everybody else was doing well, and he was just kind of filling in gaps. At no point during that game did he ever take over and be assertive in the paint. Colin Castleton pretty much took him completely out of his game. He didn't want the ball. Every time he caught the ball in the post, he would face up, he would consider making a move, he would stagnate and then kick it back out.
And some of the shots that he normally makes, he did not tonight. For example, the air ball on the turnaround jumper that he would normally make. Also on the 3, he hit 1 3, but then on his next attempt, it didn't even make rim and hit the side of the backboard.
And honestly, that speaks to who he's been the entire year. It is so inconsistent. It's so up and down. Santiago Vescovi almost out-rebounded him tonight. How is that possible? Vescovi had more offensive rebounds than Olivier did tonight. It boggles my mind. And we have the guard play to make a deep postseason run, but if you look at teams who do well in March, they have at least one dominant post player. They have one guy that when they need a basket, they can go attack the basket, post somebody up, and make something happen. And that kind of gets to my second concern about tonight. We're up 44-39 with 10 minutes left. We're shooting 28% from the field. Okay, so clearly no one's really shooting the ball well. You've got a 5-point lead. Dadgummit, every possession should be I'm flying at the basket or I'm pounding the ball inside. And if we go 22 for 25 at the free throw line for the rest of this game, so be it. We'll take it. But no, all of a sudden we decide we're going to become this pick and pop team and we're going to fire up threes from all over the place. Some of our possessions between the 6 and 10 minute mark in the game made absolutely no sense. And it was, and I think it's two reasons. Number one, I don't think Olivier has the trust of his teammates. When he started shying away and when he started kind of deciding he wasn't sure if he was going to play tonight, they started playing panicky. And in March, you can't have nights like tonight. And if
no doubt.
if you get on streaks like tonight, even for 3 and 4 minutes at a time in March, game's over.
And season's over at that point.
Because everybody you're playing at that point is better than Florida. Yeah. So, that Olivier's inconsistency, the fact that his teammates can feel when he's not playing hard and it makes them panicky and they start getting out of the offense and honestly made some really bad decisions. I mean, Santiago Vescovi, I love the way he plays. I love how hard he plays, but he made some awful decisions in the last 5 minutes of that game. And then the one that is probably, to me, the most concerning, against Texas, we got 3 points off the bench. 3. Against Florida tonight, we got 7. 4 from Urosh and 3 from Jonas Adu. 0 points by guards off the bench tonight.
Which leads to your name on the screen right now.
Yeah. What in the world has happened to Tyreek Key? Like, he looks so unconfident in what he's doing. He's not looking to score. He's just kind of trying to figure out where he fits into all this. I would love to see them pull him aside and say, hey, we're going to start running some sets just for you, just so he feels like he gets something going his way, because we're talking about a guy that at the beginning of the year scored 29 points on Gonzaga. And he's completely absent. Like, he's non-existent.
And he was brought here to be a scorer.
Yeah. And on nights like tonight, he's the kind of guy that can get to the basket. When things are going badly, he's smart enough that he'll attack the rim, go get some free throws, create some possessions, and he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I would say that would be my most concerning thing, in my opinion, is they need him. They have to have him. That's not optional. I think he had 1 point against Texas, and I don't think he had any tonight.
Nope.
I mean, like, that's where the major concern is. That's the major concern.
Well, and if you look at other guys, Jemai Meshack looks completely absent when he comes in. Like, he's playing crazy hard on defense, but when he catches the ball on offense, you can tell he has no idea what he's supposed to do with it. He knows he's not supposed to have it, but those guys have to get more involved. And I don't know if they're going to have to come up with some quick hitters that they run when certain guys are in to get certain shots from certain spots, but it's got to change, because they can't have all these empty possessions, especially on a night when you shoot 28% from the floor. And here's what's really scary about it. They only had 10 turnovers tonight. Like, the number 8 team in America did not turn them over. This was all self-inflicted.
Yeah, I mean, they had tons of wide open looks, just didn't hit them. That's the thing, just like I said, Josiah, he's been making a living in the past month off of that little 10 to 15 foot jump shot. And he pulls up, gets the ball up high, drops it in. I mean, like, that's been his game. I mean, I think the first 2 shots he made against Texas were that play. Like, he one dribble, pull up, 15-foot jumper. He wasn't in it tonight.
Back, the team with Grant and Admiral and Jordan Bone and those guys made a deep run in March. If you go back and look at those games, in the last 5 minutes of those games, it was almost exclusively pound the ball inside to Grant. We're going to get to the free throw line. We're going to get an easy bucket. The ball is going inside to Grant. If everybody collapses on him, no problem. He'll find the open guy and we'll get an open shot. But the ball is going inside to Grant.
Yeah.
Olivier has to become that guy. And if Olivier is not willing to be that guy, we're not going to be playing very deep into March.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. Absolutely. We've had a few comments come through here. Jimmy said, I'm with Zachary. How come we can't play when we get a decent ranking? That's a fair question. That's understandable.
Well, the good news is multiple top 25 teams have lost already this week. So I don't see us falling much further than 5th or 6th. Kansas State's number 7. They lost last night. So, I don't see us falling 6 at the most.
And then Zach said, well, it's like I said on the last episode, he's hit and miss. He can have a great day like Texas and a stupid day like tonight. Talking about Olivier. Yeah, I understand. Elijah said, just a sad showing, Tennessee. Zach said, I was coming home excited to watch this game after work, just to watch this. I love Tennessee. I always will. But they let the fans down. Sure, absolutely. It feels like the South Carolina. Well, yeah. That one really hurt. That one really hurt. South Carolina game, that's going to hurt for years and years to come, for sure.
The South Carolina game is like losing in the round of 64 in the NCAA tournament.
That's a great analogy. Lost. Yeah, that's a great, because that was a playoff game.
Yeah,
I mean, for all practical purposes, that was a playoff game. If they win that, they're in the playoffs. We always let the rankings get to our head in every sport. I mean,
I don't necessarily know that that's true.
I think what I'm seeing,
just who this team is. Like, they pull the rankings aside. Every time, if you go back through the schedule, every time they have an amazing showing, the very next game they are awful. Like, they're just incredibly inconsistent, and I don't think it would have mattered who he played tonight. I think the team that we saw would have shown up no matter who was on the other end of the court.
Yeah, maybe so. I'm getting this kind of this feeling of battered Vol syndrome is really kicking in with some folks.
Yeah.
And so just so everybody knows, hey, we made it through the dark years, guys. We made it through the last decade of Tennessee athletics. So now you can go to volbros.com, click on shop, and we have the perfect shirt for you. Battered Vol Syndrome Survivor. We got 2 of them. We got this one, Battered Vol Syndrome Survivor, and we've got this one that looks like that. So hey, y'all can get your apparel, because it is applicable for tonight. Let's see. Zach said, who do we have next? We play Saturday afternoon in Thompson Bowling Arena against Auburn. So Bruce Pearl coming back to TBA. Yep. 2:00. Is that what you said, Rustin?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. 2:00. Bruce Pearl coming back to TBA. It's an important game. Top 25 matchup. It's an important game.
Actually, it probably will be Dane Bradshaw. I thought it was I thought it would be SEC Network. It's actually on ESPN, so it'll be one of their main crews.
Elijah said, hoping we can make a shot. Yeah, me too, man. Hopefully we can get the stuff going that night. Zach said, can you click on the hat? I actually don't know if we have a hat in the Battered Vol Syndrome Survivor. Oh, the bucket hat. We have a bucket hat here. I'll show you the bucket hat.
The thing that concerns me the most,
Go ahead,
and this is going to sound crazy when I say it, but it doesn't concern me the most. It's just a frustration. Santiago Vescovi is left-handed. Have you ever noticed how many possessions he ends up on the left side of the floor, and we come and set a ball screen for him so he can come off the ball screen with his right hand, which means the defender is still on his shooting hand side? So we're not actually freeing him up any space, because as soon as he comes off that screen and turns, his shooting hand is on the defender.
Yeah.
why can he not get on the right side of the floor so that he can use that ball screen to go to his strong hand side? It is amazing how many times in the course of a game that happens. I bet it outnumbers. I bet he comes off ball screens with his weak hand 3 times to 1 versus his strong hand, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, I understand. Elijah said that reminded him of the Kentucky game, except worse. I understand. They got out physical, you especially Euros, man. Castleton kind of manhandled Euros in the last couple minutes there. Especially that spin move. This is a 6'11" dude doing a spin move on Euros. That was nice.
Yeah,
Um,
that was
unfortunately, it
actually
went
my
in
play
too.
of the game. If you had asked for a play of the game, I was going to give it to Colin Castleton for that spin move.
Well, so that was my. Well, we got a couple more comments, and let's see. Rusty said atrocious shooting performance, took too long to take the lead. Ref ball let Florida back in, and we desperately needed a timeout.
Yeah, that was a little surprising when it was 44-39 and Florida went on a short. So at one point it got to like 46-42, and then all of a sudden Florida scored twice in a row and tied it up 46-46. I don't know why we didn't call timeout and stop the momentum.
Yeah,
It snowballed from there, and it was an odd moment. I kept thinking, surely he's about to call timeout. It was bizarre.
Elijah's saying they just don't call traveling on Castleton. You brought up a good point. I was going to ask you for a player of the game, but I don't know if we do that in a loss.
If I had to pick
um,
one, I'd give it to Zakai.
yeah, that's who I was going to pick.
I thought overall he played well. He hit a
He,
couple of big shots.
yeah,
He was trying to attack the basket. I thought he was a little too hesitant at times, and he needed to just go flying in there and get some fouls called. But I thought overall, and especially defensively, I thought he played really well. But he had zero help. Nobody else. There was no one else out there I would even consider for a player of the game.
yeah. My player of the game was going to be Zeeb, just simply because of in that second half when they did get on that run, they went on like I think it's an 8-0 run or something like that. It was because of him. He hit 2 threes in that run.
Yeah.
So I mean that would have been my player of the game. You already said your play of the game. We always do this: player of the game, play of the game. My play
Yeah.
of the game was the floater that Zakai hit over Castleton. I don't know if I've ever seen a ball go as cleanly through the net as I've seen that shot.
At first, I thought he airballed it because the ball.
Yeah,
It didn't look like the net moved.
exactly. That was bizarre. I mean, like it just barely grazed the net on the like it was nothing but net, but almost nothing but air, but still going through the net. I've never seen a shot that clean go through the net before. Of course, then the next time he tried a floater, he was on that running floater and he threw it over the rim by about a foot, which it wasn't good. But that first one was nice. Let's see here. We had
My
a
play of the
question
game
come
would have been
in.
Colin Castleton on the spin move because it was 50-46, so we were still very much in the game. And then all of a sudden, he just makes Urosh look foolish and gets that layup. And all of a sudden, it's 52-46. And then it just snowballed out of control after that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Zach clarified. He said, "Would you rather lose against Florida, Georgia, and Bama in basketball, or win a natty in one sport?"
It
But
depends on what the sport is.
yeah, exactly. But here's the catch: you lose to Florida, Georgia, Bama every year.
I'm not sure how you would lose to those three and win a national championship in anything, but
Well, but if you had one sport that lost to everything, but then you also won a natty in one sport, would you do it? Well, if it was like, I don't mean to belittle the soccer team, but if it was like men's soccer and I could win a natty in something, then yeah, sorry, soccer guys, we're taking that. But if it was like football, just to win a natty in another sport, I don't think I'd do that deal. That's a good question, but yeah, I mean, depending on the sport, that's a good question. Uh, Rusty was talking about the floater that Zakai had. He saw like a John Morant floater. Yeah.
I'd
I wish Zakai
sacrifice
could
Sim
jump
and
like
die
John
for a
Morant.
basketball national championship.
Which sport?
I'd sacrifice swim and dive for a basketball national championship.
Hey, they're in the top 10 right now too. Let's see. He said, "Do we even have a men's soccer team?"
No, we do not. I wasn't going to say that. No, Title IX, it got dropped several years ago. I wasn't going to say that. We have women's soccer, but not men's. But since it got brought
the
up,
women's soccer, they kick tail, man. They're like always in the top 10.
Women's soccer is very strong.
That's why I didn't pick them, because they're too good. That's why I was just gonna. But now I know why I didn't know about it. Now I know why I wasn't familiar with the men's team, because there is none. Hey, that's why I chose them. That's why I chose them, because I'll sacrifice the men's team. I said, yeah, I didn't think so. Let's see. Dester said Vols couldn't hit the backboard. That's actually accurate in some cases. Yes. There was a turnaround fadeaway from Kamwa in the first half that was an air ball that the fans got a nice little chuckle out of, and they started chanting air ball. And then in the second half, we overshot the rim twice, but thankfully it did at least hit the backboard, even though it didn't hit the rim. But Dester's exactly right. Yeah, they could not hit the backboard in some situations.
I can't remember the exact situation, but Olivier had a shot late in the second half. I think it was a turnaround jumper and completely missed everything. Like it wasn't even close.
Yep. Tyreek almost did that on his three from the corner that ended up hitting Julian Phillips off the quick rebound, and then, or maybe Asante under there, but it went off the floor, got out of bounds. It barely got the front of the rim, and that was it.
Yep.
Rusty said Gators went 8 minutes without a whistle. Never got in the bonus until 1:32 remaining. Only Vols free throws were coming from, Yep.
So I don't know.
I want to say something about the Vescovy foul on the three that everybody was complaining. Okay, here's the deal. That's one of those plays where if you are the opposing team's coach, you are livid because your guy he was straight up. The shooter initiated contact and drew a foul. So that is one of those plays where if you are the opposing team's coach, you are livid. But if you're the offensive player's coach, you were like, that was brilliant, great play. Because he initiated contact. There was certainly contact. And Rusty's right. He said ESPN couldn't stand it. Yeah, you're right. There was certainly contact initiated by Vescovy, but that's what you teach shooters to do. That's why you tell post players, pump fake, get them off their feet, and then you jump into them, draw the contact, and to go up with a shot. That's what you
keep doing it until the ref stops calling it. As long as the ref keeps calling it, then you keep doing it.
That was a really, really smart play. Really smart play by Vescovy.
So I don't know if Rusty was trying to make a comment on the officiating or if he was echoing what I was saying earlier. Not getting in the penalty until a minute 32 left. Again, with 10 minutes left, we're up 44-39. It should be attack the basket with a reckless abandon, get every foul humanly possible called, and make the last 6 minutes of that game a boredom fest because you're doing nothing but shooting free throws.
Yep. Elijah said, honestly, I'd lose to Florida, Georgia, and Bama in basketball if that meant I got a college football championship.
I do that too.
I like Zach's thing. He said, you might be wondering why my profile picture is Buccaneers thing. He's like, I'm a Bucs fan, but I hate Florida, just so you know.
It was a bad day for Zach. He woke up to find out that he doesn't have a quarterback anymore.
Yeah, Tom Brady hanging up the cleats. He's saying this time for good, but we'll see.
He started the press conference by saying, I'm retiring, and it's real this time. So I'm pretty sure this one's legit.
Yeah. We'll see his social media stuff in about a month from now and see how it's going. And we'll see. Well, looking ahead, we got a couple of really exciting things we want to tell you about before we end this tonight. This Friday, Mark Nagy is going to join our show this Friday, February 3rd. We're really excited about that. That's going to be awesome. And we're going to do something this Friday that we're going to start doing at least once a week on our show. Right now in basketball season, we're going live about twice a week, but at least one of those times on our show, we're going to do a new segment to end every show. And we're going to rank something. It could be like top 5 Tennessee traditions. It could be top five, you know, quarterbacks in Tennessee history, stuff like we're going to give our rankings and stuff. But as you all know, Mark Nagy is the author of Decade of Dysfunction, which chronicled the UT athletic department from 2007 to 2017. And so he's going to tell us all about some of the stuff, and I'm really excited about that. It's going to be cool to hear his stories. So what we're going to do this Friday is we're going to change it just a little bit, and to go along with Decade of Dysfunction, we're going to do top 3 most embarrassing moments from 2010 to 2020. And so I've got a couple posts out there on social media right now, Volbro social media, where you can give us. We would love to have you give us your top 3 most embarrassing moments during that decade, and we'll show them during the show and on the screen and everything. And I'd love to hear everybody's. One that I actually had for, I guess, I don't know, this was my subconscious like helping me or something, but I had actually blocked it out. But we had a guy on the community tab on YouTube earlier today. His name is Smeagol is a Vol, and he reminded me of one in his top 3. And so Rustin and I, we've already made our top 3, and we'll reveal that Friday afternoon on the show. But he said Jeremy Pruitt's mask in 2020 that he wore like up to here and around. I did not even think of that when I was coming up with my top 3. But man, that's got to be an honorable mention. I mean, like,
it was my number 4. It was this close to being in my top 3, but that's kind of sad though that there were so many options between 2010 and 2020 that didn't make it.
I made a list of honorable mentions that I'm going to show, and there's like 7 or 8 things on the honorable mentions list.
Rusty just mentioned Derek Dooley's shower hygiene.
Oh yeah, that's what
I
you
think
wanted.
You could just have a subheading of Derek Dooley press conferences, because
yes,
he had so many of them where he just made random comments or did bizarre things like that.
Rommel,
And you're just like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah. Zach asked Tennessee top 3 or just any top 3. Tennessee top 3 most embarrassing moments in Tennessee athletics.
Zach, we're exercising the battered ball syndrome demons. It has to be from that time frame, and it has to be Tennessee related.
Then the other thing, we got a few more comments come through. I'm going to put on the screen up here in a second. But we didn't want to end the show on Friday on a downer with the top 3 most embarrassing moments. So we're going to end it on a funny note. As you all know, Mark Nagy is a huge Office fan. He talks about The Office all the time on his Twitter. And so we're going to do our top 3 episodes of The Office as well. And we've already made ours. So we'd love for you to give us yours too. And we'll show them on the screen during the podcast.
I think in honor of Mark Nagy, all of your bylines need to be all caps the whole time.
Almost started the show tonight by doing "Fire Everybody," which is in all caps, which is vintage Mark Nagy. Anytime anything starts going south in any game, that's immediately what he tweets. He probably tweeted it tonight. I'd have to go look. I hadn't looked yet. Some of the other comments that we had coming in, Vols 1998 said, "I hate losing to Florida in any sport." Absolutely, man. Totally agree. Totally agree. I hate losing to him as well.
I will give them one kudos though, because it was crazy impressive. And I don't know how long it took him to do it, but the incredibly obese student that they showed who had his entire body half painted blue, half painted orange, wearing a cowboy hat, shirtless with overalls on. That dude was amazing. And he's on screen doing the Macarena. I mean,
he knew he was on screen too. You could tell.
Oh, yeah.
He was playing it up for the camera, man. Elijah, speaking in reference to Tom Brady, said he's not buying it until next season starts.
I think you can go ahead and buy it. He was pretty adamant. I'm pretty sure he's done. Honestly, I think he was done about week 5. I think when they were early in the season, he was looking around going, wait, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I think he was already regretting that decision.
Zach said Tom Brady retired, Tennessee lost. What else can go wrong? Dester said, thank you too for the chat. Hey man, we so appreciate you joining us. We appreciate everybody joining us. This is what makes it fun when people interact with us. Rusty did mention the Derek Dooley shower hygiene is an embarrassing moment.
So he's got another one down there in the comments that I had completely forgotten about.
Is it the trash can, the turnover
Yeah.
trash can?
I like, again, there's so many of these things that you just like, you've blocked them out of your mind. You know, I don't want to ever go back to this place. Um, oh, the turnover trash can.
So I will say this. Rustin and I both had one Butch Jones statement in our top three. We had different ones, which is sad that there could be more than
There
one
were a lot
option.
of them.
There sure were.
I'm sure 63 effort didn't make it in this time.
It didn't. In my honorable mentions, I had Barb's Chip Dip Player of the Week.
There you
In my
go.
honorable mentions,
Which has made a resurrection at Arkansas
yes,
State.
it sure did. Yes, it sure did. Zach said, "I love The Office. We do too, man. It's a great show." And Rusty said that the Memphis Grizzlies, is that tonight, Rusty? Is that what
Mhm.
that just happened? Speaking of John Morant, we mentioned him earlier. Oh yeah, there you go. Rusty said 5-star hearts, champions of life, leadership.
I'd forget. I'd forgotten leadership reps.
I did too. Oh man, I forgot. Oh, that's a good one.
So
That's a good one. He always talked about getting mental reps though for the quarterbacks. He always talked about that.
So
I
I
had
can't
forgotten
go in.
that.
I can't go into the details now or on Friday, but I am fairly closely connected to most of Butch Jones's assistant coaches when he was there, and as bad as all this stuff is, there was so much more. Like it is unbelievable. Like this stuff is just the tip of the iceberg compared to all the other stuff on the inside that those coaches had to live through. It like somebody just said, if we start talking about Butch, we'll be here till Saturday. Honestly, I could probably tell stories about Butch till the end of February. It was constant.
Well, one thing that was interesting when we brought this up to Mark Nagy and we were talking to him about, we're going to do this on the show, he loved it. He thought it was a great idea. And he said, wait, is it just top 3 on field or off field things? Because I could do both.
Mhm.
And I said, hey, you can do both. That's fine. Absolutely. Because I'm sure he knows stuff that, we don't even know. And it's very interesting. I didn't know this until I read his book. And I was going to mention this on Saturday or Friday as an honorable mention, but when Derek Dooley was hired, current assistant coach at the time, Kippy Brown, who was named interim coach while they were looking for Dooley, they interviewed Kippy for the head coaching position after they had hired Dooley. After they had already made an agreement with Dooley. That's when they interviewed the interim head coach.
Oh wait, where'd that other guy go?
Yeah. I mean, what a slap in the face. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's embarrassing. And that almost made my top 3, but it didn't because nobody knew about it because it wasn't public, all 3 of mine were very, very public things. So that'll be fun.
Well, like I said,
Rusty.
the majority of the stuff that I know about that happened internally, I can't repeat because it doesn't just it's not just a funny story. It incriminates other people. So like I can't actually say any of them.
So Rusty may have just gotten one of my top 3 there. That's a solid entry, Rusty. That is a solid one.
But again, here's what's so sad about all this. Like,
and
all 3 of mine were off the field things. And I could have had 20 more, and they were all off the field things. Like, the most embarrassing things weren't even the product that was happening on the field, as bad as it was. I mean, my goodness, we had Sal Sunseri. Giving up.
That was a fantastic defense that year, by the way.
Giving up what, 600, 700 yards to Troy,
Yeah, exactly. Into Akron.
Yeah. Oh, just unbelievable.
And for those who might be listening to audio versions, because we've had a bunch of people every week, there's a bunch of people who listen to the audio version. We appreciate that. So if you're listening to this, tomorrow or the next day on audio, hey, you the man or a woman, or if you're a guy or a girl, whoever's listening, we appreciate you. I'm 94% of our 94.8% of our listeners are men. of our viewers are men. So for that 5.2% of ladies, we appreciate y'all too. And so
That's a
if one of
shout
you
out for
guys,
International Women's Day.
there you go. That's exactly right. But if you're listening to this on the audio podcast, I realized what I just did a minute ago. You couldn't see what Rusty had said that I put on the screen. So the thing that Rusty said that I said might be one of my top 3 most embarrassing moments was the 2011 loss to Kentucky, who started a wide receiver at quarterback. And it snapped a 26-game winning streak Tennessee had against Kentucky. So that may or may not be in my top 3.
And he threw, 3 passes in that game?
For a total of oh man, I just read this just the other day. It
Yep.
was a total of 16 yards or something.
Mhm.
Like it was
Yeah.
crazy. But he ran for 150 something yards or
Right.
something.
But how bad is your defense when you can't figure out that the wide receiver starting at quarterback probably isn't somebody you have to really put a lot of guys in coverage for?
Exactly. Zach, we appreciate that so much, man. He said, favorite podcast I've watched that's not Star Wars. Good to have Tyreek Key on tonight. Hey,
Still
we
looking
appreciate
for
you,
him.
man. We really appreciate that very much.
An all points bulletin. If anybody's seen him, please return him to Thompson Bowling before Saturday.
So our last thing tonight, and this is how we'll end the show. Yesterday, some news was released via Twitter that 3-star quarterback Ryan Dameron had committed to Tennessee as a preferred walk-on. Now, what I find most intriguing about that, first of all, he's from Tennessee. He's from Paris, Tennessee. But what I find most intriguing about that is he had a scholarship offer from Kentucky. And so he chose to forego a scholarship offer to an SEC school to be a preferred walk-on at Tennessee. That is intriguing to me. That is very intriguing. So
he's the number 113 quarterback in America. He's a good player. Anybody that's watched him, you can go watch his video. He throws the ball really well. I think this is probably, I think people need to get used to this. I think this is probably going to become common. A preferred walk-on in Tennessee can still be a full scholarship kid, just not be on scholarship because of the amount of hope money that's available and the way the lottery scholarships work in Tennessee. So,
if he's got the grades, that's right.
Right. Because of NIL, because of lottery money, because of Hope Scholarship, all these different things, the University of Tennessee and MTSU and UTC and, any other state university can put together a really good financial package for an in-state kid and get a really good player as a preferred walk-on who actually isn't paying anything to be there. So I think you're going to see a lot more of this, especially at quarterback, because they're going to take shots at the biggest names in the country. But we've all seen it all over the country. If your 5-star, 4-star quarterback comes in, sees the writing on the wall, and knows they're not going to play for 2 or 3 years, they're gone. So you've got to have that walk-on that you can trust to be your number 3 guy at all times. And, there's some kids out there like Ryan Dameron. I mean, he said his lifelong dream was to play at Tennessee. His lifelong dream also might be to sit the bench at Tennessee, learn from Josh Heupel, become the next Joey Halsley, and have a really long career in coaching. So I think they'll be actively looking for kids like that who fit that mold and, can be a preferred walk-on, can provide depth at the quarterback position, but are okay with maybe I never ever get to play here.
So you and I had the exact same thought then. We hadn't mentioned that to each other, but that was exactly my thought. I mean, if you're on the outside looking at this, you're like, wait, what is this kid doing? I mean, like, you've got Joe this year, Nico for at least the next 2 years after that. And then I think his name's the McIntyre kid, the 2025 quarterback or something like that.
Yeah, George
And so,
McIntyre.
I mean, this Dameron may never see the field ever, unless it's like, Gaston Moore type minutes or something
Yeah,
like that. And so you got to be wondering what is this move? What does this mean? And that was my immediate thought. I think he's sitting here with, and if this is the case, kudos to the kid. He knows he can come potentially win a national championship without having to get injured on the field, and then become a graduate assistant, learn from these coaches, and start a coaching career in a sport that he loves, learning from the best at his position. So if you look at it that way as a long-term move, that could be a genius move by this kid. And so I mean, I don't know the kid, but I'm guessing, just like you said there, that's probably what's going on here. If I had to guess. We have a couple of last comments come in here. Said, "Oh, this is a good point." Okay, we didn't mention this. This is a good point. So Mad Speedin said, "Julian Phillips, we're not getting enough out of him." 100% agree. Tonight he had, like 4 points, I think, maybe 2. I remember one and one that he had. So I don't remember if he made the free throw or not. He had 6 points.
6 points, 4 rebounds.
He made one strong move in the lane, made the bucket, and got fouled. There was another time when he drove the lane and got massacred, and it didn't get called. But you're exactly right. I mean, he needs to be more of a factor.
I think what's most concerning on that is he only took 4 shots.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of that's to be expected. I mean, yes, he's a 5-star, but he is still a freshman, and he's a pretty frail freshman. I liked, there was a couple of possessions where they ran quick hitters to get him a play. Like they were trying to get him the ball. So I liked that they were trying to find a way to work him in. He didn't respond very well, and I think that's why they went away from him. But yes, at some point he's got to mature. He's got to become.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing as Olivier Comwa. He's got to be consistent, and we don't need him to be a double guy every night. We just need him to get about 10 to 12 every night, and if he's doing that, it makes everybody else better.
Yep. Zach said, "Answer me this: who can beat us next year?" If I remember correctly, you both picked Georgia, but now that Georgia QB and OC is leaving, you still think that. I say we go 12-0. So Rustin and I, back on our video we did about maybe a month ago, maybe around there, we both picked us to go 11-1. I said we were going to lose to Bama and Tuscaloosa and beat Georgia at home. Rustin said we're going to beat Bama and Tuscaloosa and lose to Georgia at home. It's interesting. Rustin's way might actually be an easier path for us to make to the college football playoff. My way would have us in the SEC championship game. It would be interesting to see what ends up happening, but that's what we both predicted for next year. And I'm not gonna like brag or anything, but this year I said we would go 10-2 and play in a New Year's Six bowl, and that's exactly what happened. I'm not bragging or anything. Actually, I am, but I thought that was pretty good. So I don't know. We'll see what happens next year. I mean, I think people are underestimating Tennessee. I think that Tennessee's really going to, I mean, people are, well, I say people, it's the people who commented on our video where we were predicting who was going to do. It was mainly Georgia fans, Georgia and Alabama fans. They weren't, we're living, I guess the Vol Bros live in their heads rent free for a few of them at least, because they like to talk to us on YouTube, which is kind of funny sometimes.
Zach, I want to see Todd Monken leave, and then I want to see who gets hired.
Yeah,
there was
it's not official yet.
Right. There was a picture the other day that was really interesting that showed Mike Bobo with recruits on the Georgia account. So anytime social media posts anything, it's been run through compliance. Mike Bobo was not a recruiting coach. He was an analyst. So the fact that he's now in pictures with recruits and is being seen with recruits would make people say, okay, number one, he's been cleared to be a recruiting coach, which means he's now an assistant. The logical place would be he's replacing Todd Monken as offensive coordinator. If that's true, then I will change it to 12-0 because I have zero confidence in Mike Bobo. If it's not Todd Monken and it's not Mike Bobo, I'm going to hold off on that till I see who it is. If Todd Monken's back, I don't think we beat Georgia as long as Todd Monken's there.
And it would make sense that it would not be formally announced until at least tomorrow to get past National Signing Day, which was today.
Yep.
It's kind of, today was National Signing Day. Really, it's now the middle of December, early signing day.
There were a few kids that signed today. There were some big names. Nichols Harbor ended up at South Carolina. It'll be interesting to see where he goes next year. Yeah, because no good player is going to stay at South Carolina more than 1 year. He'll get an offer better somewhere else and leave.
Rusty asked, any news on the tight end coach yet? Not that's been announced publicly, but I say that strategically, not that's been announced publicly. They may know full well who it is. We just don't know yet. But we, as in like the general public, don't know yet. But
I think they do. I had heard they had it narrowed down to 2. Again, I think they were probably waiting. Well, I think we'll probably hear this week. I think they were waiting till after today.
Rusty also said Georgia has some real receivers now. Not sure about the quarterback. That's true. Ra Johnson transferred from Mississippi State. If he's able to play, we'll see.
Yeah, Ra Thomas. He got arrested.
Thomas, yeah. So if he's eligible to play and not in jail at the time, then yeah, he's an excellent receiver. Dominic Lovett also transferred from Missouri to Georgia. That was a huge pickup. So yeah, you're right. They got some serious players on the outside, but like you said, they got to have somebody to give them the ball.
Ladd McConkey will be back. Bowers will probably be back. They lost A.D. Mitchell. That'll hurt a little bit.
They lost Washington, the other tight end that was ginormous.
Yeah.
But you think about that between McConkey, Dominic Lovett, and Brock Bowers, they got some players.
So the other thing that's going to be really interesting in that whole OC deal, the Georgia forums have been buzzing about Todd Monken leaving because he has stockpiled big name quarterbacks. They've got 4 really good quarterbacks at Georgia, and to this point, a couple of them, Brock Vandegrift being one, have been very vocal about the fact that the only reason they haven't transferred is Todd Monken. They feel that they have learned a lot from him. They had the opinion that if they only played 1 year under him, it was enough to get drafted. And they were all hanging around because of Todd Monken. So that's something to watch too. If they hire an OC that those kids aren't fully bought into, you could see a bunch of Georgia's quarterback depth hit the portal really fast.
Yeah. What's up with Georgia players getting arrested? Stetson Bennett. Yeah. It was not a good week for Stetson. I will say this about that situation. I don't know if anybody saw, there was a video that was released of when he was arrested and he tried to run for a second, but man,
that wasn't
one
him.
of the, it wasn't him that got hit by the police officer?
That was Baker Mayfield 5 years earlier. People were messing with people and put that out there and said it was him.
I got you. Well, okay, so I'm still going to compliment that cop because that dude must have
tackled Baker Mayfield was a player.
Yeah, he had to have played middle linebacker somewhere in Division I college football. That dude, it was like form tackle, just nailed him. I was like watching the video, I went, ooh. Like, you hear like a big hit in the game in the stadium, you hear the whole stadium go, ooh, like that. I did that watching the video. It was an impressive hit. Form tackled him right there. So this week, Friday afternoon will be our next show. It'll be pre-recorded with Mark Nagy. So we're super excited to have him on the show. We hope all of you look for that on Friday on YouTube. That'll only be on YouTube. We'll post links to it on the other platforms, but the show itself will only be on YouTube. And then our next live will be Saturday night. And so we hope you join us then. We'll be able to post a link Saturday night. If you'd like to, you can join us on screen. Hopefully, we'll be celebrating a win over Auburn, top 25 win. It'll be interesting to see how the Vols bounce back after adversity tonight and see how they respond. If I had to guess, knowing the kind of coach that Rick Barnes is, I think they're going to respond. That's just me personally. I think they'll bounce back. He is a top coach in the country and college basketball history for a reason. So I think we'll see a good Tennessee team come out in Thompson Bowling Arena Saturday afternoon. Rustin, any last thoughts?
I think it'll be a close game. The one thing that does give me concern, Bruce loves to run the high ball screen. Almost everything Auburn does starts with a high ball screen, usually with a post player. And we've been playing small. We've been going with Olivier and 4 guards. And if Olivier's standing on the 3-point line, we don't have a whole lot of size inside. And so that could create some issues.
Well, and similarly to what we said tonight, I can't remember who it was. Somebody in the comments mentioned that when the Vols go cold, they go really cold. And that's true. They do. Well, it would be the same situation for Auburn because they love to shoot it, man. They love to shoot the 3. They love to, and here's the deal. There's teams throughout. I'm thinking of like Duke teams from the past, and I mean pretty much a lot of teams who live and die by the 3. Well, you live and die by it. If you're hitting, it's hard to lose. If you're not hitting, it's hard to win. And so that's what we'll see that on Sunday night or Saturday afternoon. I mean, hopefully they won't be hitting them, and so hopefully Tennessee is hitting their shots. Auburn's not. And if that's the case, then we're going to see a nice, comfortable win on Saturday. So hopefully that's what we see. The 3 is a beautiful thing when it goes in, but when not a lot of them are going, well, I mean, like what was Vandy 3 for 30 or something the other night?
Hey, we were 5 for 25 tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. So live and die by it, right? Live and die by it. Man, Zakai's almost went in at half court at the end of the first half. That was wild. But you hit 5 for 25, you're going to lose. That's the way it goes. The 3-point line is a beautiful thing when the ball goes through the net. It is a damaging thing when it does not go through the net.
And here's what's worse: Zakai was 3 for 9, so the rest of the team was 2 for 16.
Yep.
Yikes!
I don't think Josiah hit one all night long.
0 for 5.
Yep. Well, we appreciate everybody joining us tonight. We love interacting with you guys on here, man. That's awesome. We love it. That's what makes this fun. Hey, tell everybody, text a buddy about the Vol Bros. Let them know about our show. Let them know about our videos. Let them know about Mark Nagy being on here on Friday. That's going to be awesome. Getting to hear some of his stories from over 20 years of covering the Vols. So we look forward to having him on. We look forward to seeing all of you guys again on Saturday. But be looking for that video on Friday. Make sure if you haven't already, subscribe, go ahead and do that. And then if you click on that notification bell, it'll let you know when that video is released on Friday. So that'll be good. But we appreciate everybody. I hope you have a wonderful couple days till we see you again. Go Vols. We'll see y'all soon.